Regina Exhibition Association holding a news conference yesterday to announce the amount of corn dogs sold at Buffalo Days. 7,596 corn dogs. 500 of which sold to Cody Fajardo. There's your giggle, RV. We got him laughing already.
Did you go? Do you go for the fair food?
I didn't go this year.
I usually just go for the food.
I go for the food.
I certainly looked that part, but I actually abstained from fair food this year. I just overindulged.
Did you feel like you missed anything?
Not especially. I think it's a sign of getting old. You watch you get 1 year older, but it seems the base average age of the customers is pretty much, or the attendees is pretty much the same. So I'm 55, but they're still 18, and I think the generation gap just widens, as do I.
The old line from Dazed and Confused. I keep getting older, but they stay the same age.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Matthew McConaughey.
But I will say this. I go to eat and people watch.
Oh.
And we had the belly button count going. Or as Nelson, one of our Facebook viewers, says, the gut count. I saw, well, Jordan, if you don't mind me paraphrasing you again, our director in here, he saw a lot of belly buttons, but the ones he saw, he liked. If you know what I mean. A lot of bare midriffs showing. And as far as those, with their guts hanging out and belly buttons, I didn't see a lot of those. And the Crocs and the sweats, I didn't see a lot of those. So I don't know if they can't afford to go or what. But, it was a younger crowd, RV, you're right.
Yes, well, when I get to this age in my dotage, every crowd is a younger crowd, unless they go to a symphony or something.
So, Canada's team. That's the Riders, by the way. What do you think I was talking about, the Raptors?
Winnipeg Jets.
The Jets,
this is the
Canada's
season coming
team.
up.
Jordan wants to correct me, he says that's not what I said. That's what I heard. I know, I'm just teasing you, Jordan. No, the Riders, winners of 3 in a row, winners of 4 of their last 5. Did you see it coming?
No. When they were 1-3, I was extrapolating and thinking 4-win season. It just didn't look very impressive at that point. The defense just seemed to lack any sort of vibrancy. The offense generally has been productive, but I thought the loss of Chris Jones as the defensive coordinator was really noted after 3 or 4 games into the year, and it may still be noted as they play offenses that are presumably more potent down the road, and injuries are starting to affect them on defense. But I really thought, this could be a very trying year when they were 1-3, because it looked like they got absolutely exposed by the Calgary Stampeders. And what they've done to turn it around, and having won 3 for their last 5, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was looking very much like a rebuilding, let's worry about 2020 type year.
Why the change, do you think? I mean, is Shivers calling a better game? Is it, and some people might disagree with this, but Solomon Elimimian coming in and Cam Judge sliding over. I mean, he looks unbelievable playing outside linebacker as opposed to being stuck in the middle now that he's been freed up. Is it a combination of things?
I think Elimimian coming in has stabilized things. They've been able to get a base pass rush from their front 4. I think that has helped. They're facing some issues now, obviously, with the defensive tackles. And guys have started making plays on defense. If you look at the game against Hamilton, as much as there was talk about the Kyran Moore punt return, then the pass to Shaq Evans, the first down pass to Kyran Moore, and then the touchdown run by Cody Fajardo.
They got the stop.
What set that up? Ed Gainey sniffs out a flare or hitch screen, bubble screen, whatever, on the left side. As soon as the receiver starts flanking to the left, Ed Gainey sees it, tags him for a 4-yard loss. Then on second down, Nick Marshall, who took so much flack during and after the game in Ottawa, makes a key pass knockdown. And that's a defense that had been struggling in the second half against Hamilton and against Dane Evans, and they get the back-to-back huge plays from 2 great defensive backs, and that's what got it going. And they started to make some plays, and they'd been falling just short of making those plays at points earlier in the year. And those few inches made a difference the other way, and the intuition of Ed Gainey resulted in as big a play as I think there was in that football game.
Yeah.
It's funny, Ed Gainey, a free agent signing of the past regime. Nick Marshall, a find of the past regime. One thing I do hear, RV, and I think you and I talk to a lot of the same people, is what I'm hearing people talk about, is it O'Day's team? Is it Dickinson's team? Is it Jones's team? The main answer is that it doesn't matter. They're the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But with the trade of Zach Collaros out of town, the emergence of Cody Fajardo, are there any remnants of Chris Jones still on this team, do you think?
Well, I think, Stephen McAdoo is still the offensive coordinator, and Stephen McAdoo and Chris Jones had always been connected at the hip. Jason Shivers is a disciple of Chris Jones, so you can see that. If we're talking to the same people, we've got friends in low places. I've got to get that in.
Hey, there you go. It's Garth week. It's Garth week.
I could talk about Garth all show. Continue.
You're seeing that identity changing. I think you're seeing, Craig Dickinson has talked about team before self, and that mantra, I think the players are buying into it. And the last 3 years, with some variations, I think you could say this was a Chris Jones team. And now I think you're seeing that the players are becoming more a part of the identity of the football team. Cody Fajardo and the things that he's done on and off the field to create a buzz. I think you're seeing a player emerge more as the face of a team than a coach, and I think that's very important.
What was your
No.
What was your headline? Riders savoring the corn dog days of summer? Is that what it was on the weekend?
I shamelessly wrote that. Many corny jokes resulting.
You guys come up with your own headlines now, right?
And he
for the
also
most
did
part.
Shameless right there. Another Garth song.
Shameless.
That's right.
Yeah,
Nice.
You're rolling.
I didn't even
going.
realize I'd lucked into that one. But it really is. You look at the Cody Fajardo phenomenon, and it's really cool to see. And sometimes you wonder, are people jumping the gun on this, or are we seeing the early stages of a franchise?
What do you
quarterback?
think?
I think you're seeing a lot of the attributes that one would associate with a franchise quarterback. There's a danger in jumping to conclusions like that, but I see a lot of similarities between the way he just seems to be from central casting and born to do it than I did when Darian Durant took over as the starter. It's comparable.
That's a name I've heard compared.
A comparable juncture in their careers.
Yep.
Darian got his first start when he was almost 26 and took over for good when he was 27 and did not relinquish that until he started getting injured. And Darian Durant was 27 years old for most of the 2009 season. And so here we are with Cody Fajardo, 27 years old, and he just has that presence, and he just seems so at ease with the scrutiny. And I remember talking to Darian early in his first 2 or 3 starts, and it just seemed, this guy's got it. The same sort of comportment, and there's a risk in making a direct comparison between the two. But if you make a direct comparison between the two at comparable junctures in their career, there are some parallels.
It's interesting to see. I'm with you on we might potentially be seeing history being made in front of our eyes with Cody Fajardo. People loved Darian Durant pretty early on. There were some people he never ever won over, and that's fine. He didn't care. Zach Collaros, they never warmed up to him. They never did. From the moment they acquired him, which surprised me. I don't know why. We all know he won 10 games. But with Cody Fajardo, they're all in. What's the difference, do you think?
Derek, correct me if I'm wrong. You may have a different perception, but he just seems more comfortable with the face of the franchise role. And maybe that's a grandiose way of referring to it. But there's scrutiny that a quarterback is going to face. And he seems to embrace it. He wades into the midway after scoring a game-winning touchdown.
Right.
And Zach Collaros, I don't think the circumstances were ever right for him to feel entirely comfortable here. As soon as he gets here, there's questions about what happened in Hamilton. What about your history of injuries? Why can't you replicate 2015? His first appearance at Mosaic Stadium, Chris Jones has this fake quarterback competition going on. Collaros in the first quarter, Bridge, Collaros, Bridge. And because of that, Zach Collaros is in the game in the third quarter, and he absorbs a needless hit that ultimately resulted in his first concussion. And they don't have the first offensive line in at the time, so they put their quarterback in danger. And it just seemed from that point on, it was never a perfect fit. The second game of last season in Ottawa, Zach Collaros, with the symptoms that carried over from that hit that he absorbed against Calgary, had to leave the game, and then he misses 4 games, and then he comes back, and they won a lot of football games, but I think it was on the strength of the defense. I think he had to be frustrated being blamed for a lot of things that weren't his fault.
If I may interrupt, because you're really giving us some gold here.
Well,
I've never looked into it this far, but when Zach Collaros was signed in free agency this past February, he brought that up. He said, I shouldn't have been in the game at that time.
Yeah.
And I never really thought, should this be dug into a little more? So you think that's what he was referring to?
I don't know. I just think people really didn't jump on that quote. I took a look at that and I thought that's very telling, because Zach Collaros in his dealings with the media generally was pretty cautious, but he said that, and he said it twice. He said it earlier in the year, and that was I think a coaching error that affected him down the road. And I remember when the Riders lost 31-0 in Winnipeg, and Zach Collaros was being blamed for everything. And he was very terse after the game in his discussions with the media. You go back and look at that game, and as much as Zach Collaros is being blamed for 2 interceptions and all that, you look at it, and the first pick was because Kyran Moore kind of hesitated on a pass route. And on the second interception, Caleb Hawley pretty much stopped on a pass route. And everybody's going, what's wrong with Zach Collaros? Well, he wasn't getting much help. When you look at that offense, you look at the philosophy that was in place last year, you look at the talent that was around him, I don't think that the result logically should have been anything except what happened, which was an offense that over the course of the year scored 25 touchdowns. The Riders already have 21. So I don't think Zach Collaros played especially well, but I don't really think given the system and the scheme and the circumstances that he had a chance to.
This is outstanding stuff from RV. We have to break. That's the word I'm getting from producer Clark. But we will come back on this and revisit it, because Chris Jones did not walk on water here. There are many that thought that he did. There are many that thought that he didn't. But there were a lot of errors. And we can talk about that, and how much of a fingerprints are still on this organization from Chris Jones. And as I pointed out on the weekend, imagine if Jeremy O'Day had been named the GM way back in December 2015, where this franchise would be, because it's going pretty good now, right?
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.